Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to our program today. We are glad to be here and we are glad to see each and every one of you. And whether you are viewing now or will view later, we just appreciate you viewing. How about that? And so, listen, I am excited because this is part four, and we have back with us one of the best, just smartest, intelligent, and she's beautiful, and she's safe, and she's just a sweetheart. And that is Dr. Olivia Burkett. Listen, if you are looking at us or later or now, whatever the case may be, just put a hand clap in that comment section because she deserves every bit of it. Welcome back, Dr. Burkett.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be back.
Awesome.
Yes, we missed last Monday, but hey, we're
Yeah.
going to make up for it today. I'm excited to be here. So
Yes.
blessed, so thrilled. Amen.
Absolutely. I am absolutely thankful that God brought us together. I really am. And I look forward to doing a lot more with you as my time permits. And also, back with us on tonight is the beautiful Crystal. And I think Caleb is coming. So we're giving Crystal a hand praise too. You all put a hand clap in the comment section for Crystal. We are glad to have you back, Miss Crystal. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. We hope that you all are in for or ready for the treat that we have on for you on tonight. Please take a minute and share. I'm sharing and I'm hoping that you will share because we are talking about the autism spectrum and it is so informative. As you can see, this is our fourth time coming to you. And after this segment, we will take a break for just a few weeks because it's summertime and we realize that people are busy doing what they do. But we will be coming back with more because Dr. Burkett is full of information. So we're going to get right to it. It is 7:03, and we're going to pick up Dr. Burkett where we left off. We were talking about what are the common treatments for autism. So let's pick up right there. And again, everybody, please share. All right, Dr. Burkett, in your hands. What are the common treatments for autism?
That's an amazing question. And I'm glad you asked that because in the past couple of weeks, I've been inundated and my social media platforms has just been blasting with uh, people talking about autism and what the treatments are and buy this and do that. And I was blown away. I said, so this is what the parents are facing. And people just telling them almost anything. And when parents are so desperate and so in need of treatment, and they are thinking that they're buying something that's going to change their child's life and going to change their life. But a lot of this stuff out there, Pastor Vicky, has not been proven to be so. So I want to caution parents about what the common treatments are and let them know what's been tried and true. And what I mean by that is, and I hate to be long winded, but I think that I need to take my time and say this.
Okay.
When we were seeking salvation, we didn't want just any old God. We wanted the real deal. And we took our time till we found Jesus. He's the only one that went to a grave and got up out of it. So, and to this day, he works, right? He's within
Yes.
us, and our lives are different, and our salvation is intact. We
Yes.
need to approach, parents need to approach taking care of their children, especially on the spectrum, using the same meticulous way of making certain that what you do for your child and what you give your child is the real deal. And always be mindful if it hadn't been tested. So we want to look at treatment that has science behind it. As a researcher, I can't emphasize that enough. In general, we want to treat the children on the spectrum the same way we can, as much as possible, other children that are normal. We don't want to make these, strange, wide, vague differences. We do want to target whatever issues they have that interfere with them being able to function in this world. But we don't want to use a huge explosive that you would normally use to blow up a mountain just to do a molehill, and that's what I'm afraid of could happen just from looking at what's out there. And I remember one of the previous viewers asked us about food before that came up, and somebody asked about, I think, probiotics or some medication for the stomach and the gut. I took my time and I went back and I looked at that, and I'm going to hit on that a little bit, and then I'm going to give you exactly what science backs and only what science backs. There is a study out there. I took my time to look at the article, and it's about giving pre and probiotics, mixing it together and giving it to children on the spectrum for their gut. And it claims, and this study is only a pilot study, so it has not gotten to the point yet where the FDA has put their stamp of approval on it. So it's, in my opinion, if it was my child, I would wait till it's FDA approved. If you want to take care of your child gut, I would suggest you do it like you would anyone else who has stomach issues. A lot of people do. Probiotics work for some people, and the same probiotic that work for people in general should work for the stomach of a child on the spectrum. So I'm just trying to keep it in perspective. Use medications that's been approved. I've seen them talking about all kinds of stuff out there. I mean, I'm blown away, but it's not common. And you're asking about common. So let's go to the common stuff that's been tried and proven and has the science behind it. We know for a fact that when it comes to applied behavioral analysis, or what we call ABA, or treatments that are behavior modification, they work. They work because they were designed to change behavior. And it doesn't matter if the person is on the spectrum, if it's a kid who's not getting good grades in school, if it's a husband who doesn't know how to appreciate when his wife cleans the house, whether it's a person that's showing up on a job for a paycheck. Behavior modification works on us all, and it works on children on the spectrum. So I'm of the opinion that if you learn or someone teaches you how to integrate behavioral modification with any other activity that you put the child in on the spectrum, whether it's speech and language, whether it's communication, whether it's floor time, social skills, use behavioral modification, integrating it with that program, you're going to see a lot of success. And the research is out there to prove that it works. If you take a child on the spectrum for occupational therapy, you're going to see that it actually works. The science is there. If you take a child and enroll them in speech and language, you're going to see improvement in their language, in their speech. You're going to see it. If you take them and like Crystal was saying earlier, Caleb is enjoying riding the bus now, school bus, being independent, autonomous. That's a social skill. Social skill training helps them tremendously because this is one of the major things that make these kids look different is not having social skills. Having behaviors that interfere with them learning social skills. So social skills training is super important. It's been proven to work. And then just having the children involved in sports and activities where they can develop gross motor skills, fine motor skills, things of that nature. That's where the horseback riding, the soccer, and any other sports you think they may like, ball, whatever, that you can get them involved in where they're exercising, running and jumping, just like other children are developmentally, it helps. These are all common things that children should get, whether they're on the spectrum or not, if they have some challenges.
Okay.
And so that being said, you're going to see a major difference. You're going to see a happier child. Now, there are a lot of parents who are concerned about medication, though. Medication is commonly prescribed generally when the child does not engage in these other activities we were talking about without problems. If they become aggressive, or if they become so occupied with something or someone that they can't focus in the classroom, or they can't pay attention to what's being presented to them, or if they engage in a self-injurious behavior, that's where they hit their head or hurt themselves, or if they become so aggressive toward others. medication can be very, very helpful to help take the edge off of these behaviors so that the babies can benefit from whatever else you're trying to do with them. Now, again, when it gets back to the medicinal purposes of what we're doing here, I would still say only use medications that have been FDA approved for use. I had someone comment to me some time ago and made a harsh comment about Risperdal, but you don't take those type things to heart because that person may have had an experience with Risperdal. I know someone that does, and I don't know what it was prescribed for, but it didn't work for that person. But what I do know, and I'm going to tell you what I do know about Risperdal. Risperdal was approved by the FDA June 15, 2009. That's factual. And they approved it for the use of children from the age of 5 to 17. See, FDA don't just say, oh, y'all can use it for this. They're going to tell you what the ages are and for what symptoms that it's okay to use it for. Mm-hmm. So they approved it for the use of children between ages 5 and 7 for irritability that the parents see associated with this spectrum or kids being on the spectrum. Okay, that's what the label will say from FDA approved. But there are some off-label usage of Risperdal that can benefit these kids, and that would be aggression, SIB, self-injurious behavior, hyperactivity, and inattentive. FDA did not approve it for the latter, but we've seen evidence that it works. This is when I say science being behind it.
Yes.
This is where the work have been looked at by professionals and scientists and been replicated. And whenever you conduct a study, someone else needs to be able to come behind you and redo that and get the same results and not find conflicting results. And FDA is not going to put their stamp of approval on it if it's not okay. The second one they approved was the Abilify. And that was in November 30th, 2009. They approved Abilify for aggression and for, I made myself some notes. SIB for rapid mood changes. And they noted that after only 8 weeks of using Abilify, there were grave improvements.
Wow.
Okay. So this is what we need. Science behind the treatments. Am I saying that if you have a child, run out and put them on Abilify or run out and put them on Risperdal? No. What I am saying is if you have a child that cannot sit and learn and benefit from what's being taught in the classroom, if you have a child that engages in those behaviors that I just named and is impacting their ability to sit at the dinner table or to obey or be in school, then it may be worth a trial of this. If you've tried all of the other methods and none of them work, if you've tried the common thing of behavior modification, behavior modification is going to be the main one that should work for us prior to medication.
Can I ask you a quick question? What happens in behavior modification? Does that involve techniques?
It does, and this is why a parent on their own can do something very simple, but it's much better and more beneficial to have a person who understands behavioral modification, which just happened to be my area of expertise, to help you set it up on how you're going to do it. Now, our parents back in the day gave us something simple. They said, if you do these particular household chores, you get to go to the movies. Or if you do this, then you get to do that. So they use rewards. They use things that we really liked. And they rewarded us with that. And it changed our behavior because some of us may not have been doing well in school. But when we learned we could go to the movie on Saturday, we decided we were going to study a little harder. Okay.
So can I ask you this? It sounds like, and I want to kind of bring Crystal in here if you don't mind.
Right ahead.
You and Crystal, whoever wants to answer it first. Okay. It sounds like what you're saying, and before I say that, let me kind of bring those that are coming late to the screen or to the program. What Dr. Burkett is talking about is making sure that whatever information you pick up concerning medicines for your child or anyone with autism, you want to make sure that it's FDA approved. You don't want to listen to all the stuff that you're seeing on Facebook, as she mentioned earlier about the algorithms picking up whatever it is that you look at and what you seem to have interest in. And then they start sending you all this information relative to that. But just beware that everything you're seeing is not good. And that's what she's addressing at this point. So now my question is, it sounds like what you are saying in all of this as well is that treat the autistic children the same as you would any child in terms of behavior, techniques in terms of adaptability to everyday life with their, assistant living. Everything should be the same. However, there may be some things that will become individualized to that particular child, such as any other child or individual that may like, for instance, ice cream better than they like the cookie. The one individual may want the cookies and the ice cream together, but there may be a situation where they just want one or the other. Is that correct? So in other words, you're designing and taking care of your child according to what they need more or less in categorical areas, just the same as you would do a regular person.
Absolutely. Making sure that they connect the reward with the new behavior.
Because I think what happens, obviously, is that people think that because there's a name to the person of their whatever the deficiency is or what it appears to be, that you got to alter the treatment and your reaction and your interaction with them. Do you find it? Okay. So Crystal, based on what she's been saying, did you use any of those techniques?
Yes. So
And
with
can-
Caleb,
go ahead.
it's more so like, I learned to use like the first then approach with him. Like for Caleb, you can say clean up for him to clean up his room, but clean up what? So I have to be specific with him. And then I also make it a game to make it fun and interesting to him. I'll also play the cleanup song on the Alexa device. I have to say it low before it comes on. And then, so we have those devices in every room in this house. So, wherever he goes, it'll work for him. And then also we use preferred items for Caleb too, to encourage him to do what it is that he needs to do. So it's first you have to clean up, then you can get this, or it's specific items that are relative to Caleb. And it goes in phases because when he was younger, he specifically liked straws. He phased out of that, and now his thing is Play-Doh because he loves crafts. And so he, may run out of a color. Well, first you have to do this in order for me to order you, because he loves to order stuff off of Amazon. So in order for you to, if you want like a Pete the Cat book, or you want some more Play-Doh, or the old lady books, you have to do this. But because he's older now, you have to get on green all week at school in order to purchase you something off of Amazon. So he knows that he has to be on green, and he has to we'll get on the calendar on the refrigerator and put a little green check mark, and he has to see it. So he has to have that visual, and he sees it, then he can get his preferred item, or he can purchase his preferred item. And I'll let him, he'll say, what is it he says? Can I have it, please? And I'll let him press purchase, so he knows. And we'll say package delivery on Friday, and he'll know that he has something coming.
Wow.
Catered to what he prefers. I'm not going to just buy him something random, but he has to work for what he wants. And that working may mean that he has to clean up. He has to finish his homework. He has certain things that he has to do in order to get that preferred item.
So then that's what you're saying is what my point was. You're not treating him any different than you would anybody else. So Dr. Burkett, why do we automatically, if you can answer this?
I can, and I'm gonna tell you, first of all, Crystal, let me give you a prompt, because she's doing what I call integrated programming, which is at the advanced level, and you don't really get that far with it until you start out with the very primary steps on it, And so basically ABA at the primary level or behavior modification at the primary level is you first got to teach that kid on the spectrum to connect the reward with what you want them to do. See, that's the harder part. That's probably where most parents fail or get burned out and choose to just give up. Okay, because that is the initial part of riding that horse that's never been ridden, is getting that child to know that if you do this, this is going to happen. And each child individually some may catch on real quick, and it may take a while. So if you just hang in there with it, eventually they make the connection. That's why I said earlier, whatever the reward is that you've identified that they want, something they like, you have to go ahead and give it to them and celebrate it the minute that they come anywhere near close to what you're wanting from them. This is what helps them to connect the two things. If I do this, this is going to happen. And eventually, when you get where Crystal and Caleb is, it soon becomes, if you go to work, you're going to get paid. You see, now going to work and getting paid, there's a long time in between that.
Right.
But at the beginning stages, you may have to lay the reinforcements on the table and let them look at them and say, after you do your homework, we're going to eat this. So they can make the connection. Yes. But they can make quantum leaps if you hang in there with it. Crystal, I'm so proud of you. That's what I meant earlier when I said if you can use ABA or behavioral programming and integrate it with other things. So it looks like she's integrating it with communication and everything else. And that's powerful.
Is that so, Crystal?
Yes, because we still have the moments where we have like what pretty much like the token system, what he has right before him, and you work for what the small things in that moment. But the bigger items that's going to cost mommy and daddy some money, you have to work harder for those items. But something as small as you want to play with the Play-Doh, well, first you have to finish your homework, then you can play. So those are smaller rewards, but something bigger, if I have to purchase it, you're going to work a little harder for it.
So did Dr. Burkett introduce you to that way?
She's introduced me to a lot of things. And her introducing me to like ABA, going through ABA taught me, I was required to get parent training. So parent training taught me, certain things that I was required to do those things too.
Oh, you were required before your job.
It was required for him to attend parent training for him to attend ABA therapy.
I
see. Okay. All right. Okay. So
can I tell you why that's so? The reason why with ABA, because it's so specific in how it has to be done. And if you were to alter the instructions or not do it the way it really should be done, you could confuse the child and mess them up more than helping them. And that is the case with a lot of instructions that I am concerned about. And this is why I'm always open to sitting with parents and groups and letting them ask these type questions, whether in person or on platform, because to do a program partially right, it's better to not do it at all. Because you could have the kid worse off than they were prior to trying to teach them and train and program them. Whenever a program is written for the child, it's written specifically for them. It's not written for all the kids in the room, because all the kids in the room is not your child. When you sit down with a trainer or a psychologist or whomever is doing this with you, they're going to ask you specific questions about your child, and they're going to write and design that program to address whatever targets that you have. And it may have to be done a certain way because your child may be a little different from the next child. And so if you do it consistently, do it when you're supposed to do it, and do it how you were taught to do it, you're going to see quantum leaps. You're going to see major changes. But when you get one person interacting with the child and giving them a reward for anything, and the next person withholding their reward and only give it to them after they've done such, and then the next person leaving the rewards out and the child can just go and grab it, do you think that child is going to work for the person who withholds it until the activities are done?
Which is what I was thinking about to ask Crystal, because I know Dr. Burkett, you can capitalize on this as well. But Crystal, first to you, the resistance. Did your son give you quite a bit of resistance in the beginning, and how did you handle it then, and how do you handle it now? Because every child has some sense of resistance.
Not not really. Not a whole. I don't. This is a while back, so not a whole lot.
Did you have to utilize, and I know the law says we're not supposed to spank or whatever, but did you utilize any hands-on, or did you do stand in the corner, or
Oh
you had,
no, we're not standing in corners.
okay. So
No,
how do
Caleb,
you discipline?
Caleb is a really mild mannered kid. He
Okay.
really is, and again, like I keep muting myself because he's making sounds over here. But even while I was muted, he was washing his hands, and he tends to play in water. And so while I was muted, I said yellow, and he turned off that water, and I said green. So just using that, always just using the colors and using picks.
Like you showed us before.
Yeah, just use, and even before I got to that stage, just showing him different picks of what he should be doing, and reiterating and redirecting him with what he should be doing.
Do
Rather
you have that? Do you have that tonight?
than the other picks, some of the picks I use they're on my work badge in the car.
Oh,
I can go
okay.
get them if you want me to, but they're what I
No.
use currently now, and then what I use when I'm in classrooms working with teachers.
So he doesn't really require any disciplinary action from you other than telling him
Colors,
stop or go or whatever.
those colors work for me.
That's
But
awesome.
again,
So
I
then,
started very with him very young, very young, and they work for him because Caleb likes his preferred items like his iPad or his game. He loves to watch his little TV and stuff. So I mean, he just wants his stuff, and so in order to keep his stuff, he has to do what he's supposed to do.
I think the key is you said early. So Dr. Burkett, that was going to be my next question, and the same to you about the disciplinary. Two questions. What would you say to parents whose child is not so mild mannered?
I'm glad
Maybe
you,
they're very rambunctious. Please
I'm glad,
tell that parent what to do, and then answer to the question: is it ever too late to start?
okay. So your first question, it basically addresses the resistance issue that you were referring to,
Yes,
because Caleb is so mild mannered, that's not an issue. So when a
right.
child is resistant, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are wanting to be disobedient. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're resisting you. What it basically means that there are some conditions within that child that are not being met, and they can't communicate it to you. They could be trying to say that I want to escape something. We call it um, a behavioral analysis in the sense of functional analysis. What's the function of this behavior? The behavior looks like it's resistance, but what is it that they're trying to communicate to you?
Wow. So how do you figure that out?
Girl, 20 something years, 30 years in the field. So at a very basic level, you should always look at your child to figure out the things that tend to irritate them, what makes them irritable. What sounds in your environment is not good for them, what smells, the noise level, the people, even certain people. And so kids on the spectrum are oftentimes trying to escape something, trying to gain something. And so you have to become the scientist to figure out what it is they're wanting. Are they trying to get away from doing this activity? I don't want to do this activity, so it looks like I'm resisting you, or I'm engaging in some other behavior because I don't want to do this. Or is it because you haven't made it interesting enough? You haven't paired it with something that they are interested in. A lot of times we go and grab things that we believe are interesting and then want to introduce it to children on the spectrum, and they may find it not interesting and boring at all. It may be something that they've got to learn to do. So we call it the PREMAC principle. You pair a less desirable activity, which is what you're trying to get them to do and they don't want to do, and pair it with something that they enjoy doing, and then everybody wins.
So you're just taking a guess at, let's say a parent is new. They've just had this child. Let's say the child now is, 2, 3, 4 years old. They should know by then, or are they just fishing around trying to see?
I think a parent who is new at this, they're probably just feeling real hopeless, feeling real guilty, I mean, having emotions all over the place because they really don't know what's going on,
Right. So
and they're lost. They feel like they're being punished. I've talked to so many parents, you just wouldn't believe what goes through the minds of those.
oh, I would believe it. So how do you help them
So,
though?
where two things has to occur. First of all, you have to reassure the parent that having a child on a spectrum is not God punishing them, but I see it as God trusting them. God trusts that
Wow.
soul.
Can
God
you say that
trusts.
again? Girl,
I,
you better come on. I felt that in my shana now.
let me tell you, girl. Let me tell
That
you,
was
girl. God,
powerful. What did Chris say?
he can't trust all of us with everything. He knows who he's designed with the capabilities to believe and trust that he didn't put you out there and leave you alone with a child that's misunderstood at this time,
Mm.
child. And so I've always just tried to help parents to know it's not a punishment, and you can do this. And I told you in the very first segment, Pastor D, that I'm selling hope. I have all of the science, I have all of the education, I have all of the knowledge and skill set, but I ain't selling it. I'm selling hope because I know our Redeemer lives. And I know that in life we have to go through some things that you don't want to go through. And having children on the spectrum just happened to be one of the most challenging things in life that I've ever known people to have to go through, because this is your child.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Okay.
You
And
build the courage and the faith of the mother or the parents first.
whoever that caregiver is, you've
Okay.
got to sell them hope to let them know this is not the end.
So then what do you tell them next to get to?
After you get them to buy into it, then you have to educate them on what this is. Why is this child doing these things that's so different from the other children? And because of what's happening is covered inside the brain, and the average parent have no idea what covert behavior is, you have to take your time and put it in layman's terms and say, look, their brain is wired differently. So because their brain has so many connections going, neural connections 10 times that of other children, it's a lot going on. Just like in the outside world around us, it's a lot going on. And some of us like, what in the world is happening? It's a lot going on. But can you imagine dealing with what's going on out here and then having a lot going on here too simultaneously?
Well, no, and that's why I'm asking this question, not to cut you
Yeah.
off, but I want to get this in because I've had this conversation with, a couple of parents. They don't know what the problem is. And then how do you get to what the problem is when the child can't communicate? That's why I was asking Crystal, like, did you have resistance? I mean, that's got to be really frustrating, just like you said.
Yeah, those are all some good questions, Pastor D. So once you get the parent to understand that there is hope, let me work with you. The next thing you have to do is have your kid assessed so you can see what it is that the child is doing or is not doing that is going to prevent or impede them from being successful in life. And the earlier you target, the better. And you just become very aggressive about getting the help the child needs for their case of autism, not the neighbor's case of autism, not the child down the street, but your baby. What is it that your baby on an individual? Yes. And communication is going to always be key. Teaching them to communicate to you is going to teach them to tell you what they like and they don't like, what feels good, what feels bad. You're going to know that without them using words. If you incorporate, like they have a PEC system, a picture exchange system. We call it PEC, a picture exchange. You put these little pictures all around the house. You talk to them, you show them the pictures. The pictures should represent a happy child, a sad child, a happy face, a sad face, a hungry face. Everything that you want a child to be able to communicate to you, you should have it in a picture. And then start using words and language and all. So you're teaching them visual aids. They have in visual aids. Then you got to say the words like Crystal said earlier, use language. And when the child cooperates, celebrate. Every child wants to be celebrated. And even if they do something very minute and small. So parents, don't give up. Start at ground zero with your baby. Write down everything the baby is doing or not doing that you want to see changed. And just pick the one that's most important first and start with that one. Whatever behavior is the biggest, let's start with that one. And then once we get that one going, let's start working on the next one. Get that
Yes.
one going, work on the next behavior. You got to start somewhere.
But you are saying you need to get professionals involved at that point.
You do. And I wish that it was some kind of way I could help every parent every time, and I've given away so much professional help because I'm just passionate about it. But there's no way I can teach a parent in an hour what it took me 20 and 30 years to accumulate.
Absolutely.
But I can help them know where to go to get some help. And then maybe in some group settings, there are some things I can sit in the floor with them and do with the babies just so they can see how it's done, especially the ABA stuff, and the social skills training and all. So we can do that in group settings. But at the end of the day,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, each parent has to take the time to have their own child assessed and make note of what needs to happen first, second, and third to get their baby ready.
Yeah, this is really, I hope you all are finding this helpful. Crystal, you appear to want to say something. You want to go ahead?
I was going to share that my big aha moment was like what Dr. Burkett just said, was learning that Caleb is wired differently. And then after knowing that, just observing him and seeing what he liked and what he disliked, like that observation was a big help for me. And I think it would be the same as any other child, observing them and seeing what they like, what they disliked, and what even down to what he would eat, what textures he liked, what textures he didn't like, stuff like that was a big help to me to understand my child. And then another thing was to not compare him to other children, not even his brother. Just do not compare him to other children. Just focus on what he was capable of doing and building on that. And stuff like that. That was my big moment for him, and simply watching him thrive from there.
So really, and before I say that, I like this comment: love and compassion grows, not just toward your child, but toward people in general, and patience. I think that's really a powerful statement there, because, and again, what I'm hearing you all say as a caregiver for my mom, a lot of what you're saying is applicable in caregiving for elderly as well as anybody. Know your patient, be able to respond to what you all said, what they like. Certainly if they're your relative, you're around them 24/7, it gets a little easier. Get the professionals involved, and by all means, you got to remain patient and loving and consistent. I think if the love is there, the patience will be there. If the love and the patience is there, then the consistency will be there, because you want the best for your child. So, Dr. Burkett, I interrupted you. You want to go ahead and finish your thought, or you want another question?
I'll just add one last thing to what you're saying, and then we can move on with the questions. All of these treatments that have been backed by science that we're talking about, if they're offered repetitively, consistently, with integrity, and lots of repetition, that is the key elements to seeing progress and to see your child become their best person. And it's so rewarding. And that's the main thing that I wanted to have a takeaway point with the treatment plan, is to make sure that it's done correctly, done the way that it was prescribed. Don't deviate from it, and watch your child grow. And I think I said earlier what could happen if you did deviate, and how it could become very confusing. So yes, go ahead with the next question so we don't run out of time.
Yeah, I think it's also important to reiterate that you cannot base what another child's situation is to your child.
Absolutely.
I think that was profound when you said that. All right. One of the other questions we have, and you might have kind of answered it, but can you hone in on it a little more careful? I asked, is there ever a time too late to start? Like if your child is autistic, but you don't realize it until they're later on down in their young years, but still, let's say it's, 7 years up the way, 10 years up the way. Is it ever too late to start treatment?
No. It's
Okay.
never too late to start treatment. As I said earlier, the earlier we start, the better results you're going to get. The earlier we start.
Is
Now,
it harder? Is it harder
is
if
it
you
harder to
start
start?
later?
When you
Later.
start in later, it's like with anything else, it could be more challenging.
Okay.
But if you are very meticulous about how you introduce the program to a person who has had a lot of years of being set in their ways. I remember one of the things I said about children on the spectrum is they don't like change. And
Oh yes.
then they become adults who don't like change. And so if a person or a child is older and you're just starting programming them, I would suggest that you prepare them for the change, the
Okay.
lifestyle change by talking to them about it way in advance, explaining to them about it, showing them pictures of happy people on the spectrum, just enough so that they'll know something is about to happen. And you need to tell them when we're going to start this, and then you start it in small increments, introducing to them what's going to be the reward and the payoff for going along with what you have going on. And one concern I have now about waiting a long time is you're going to see some resistance, because if a child on the spectrum has been accustomed to just going in their room, watching TV, uh, laying out comfortably, just cooling out, half dressed, just doing whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. To them, that's in itself is rewarding, right? So when you start trying to interrupt that to teach them a new behavior, you're going to get some kickback. And that's where you're going to have to lay the framework of introducing the new idea of what's going to happen and finding some more powerful reinforcers, something that's more powerful than what they've been accustomed to laying around doing. You're going to have to bring something new to the table that they really enjoy and want to do, and couple it with, well, when you do this. For instance, if I had a kid who laid around and didn't want to clean his room and getting big, and I'm half afraid of him because he's strong,
Mhm.
and I'm just now getting into the game and I didn't know what I know, I would say now, find out what this kid really, really likes and introduce something they've never had a chance to do that you could see their interest in. For instance, you could show them some pictures of, I don't know, going to the beach or uh, just something different from what they've been doing ordinarily.
So they can come out of that habit.
And you got to give them something better than what they have been doing. And then I'd say, when we do this, then this would happen, or you can have more time in the room after this particular program takes place in our lives. You just have to be careful with how you're going to couple it, but it's never too late, because in life we always want things. As we get older, we want more things, better things, more expensive things. You may have to, pay a little more for waiting so long, but it can be done. It doesn't matter the age or how long you waited. You just could have had better results. The child could have been better off if you started earlier.
Right, and further
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. But when you start late, then you're playing catch up. But
So the disciplinary piece, before we move on, the disciplinary piece is basically what I hear Crystal saying is withdrawal.
yeah, removal of rewards.
Okay, with rewards. All right. And then Crystal, how has Caleb been in interaction with other children? Have you had any? I know he's mild mannered, so
In the
how has that
beginning, he
how has that gone?
in the beginning, like when he was younger, he would play alone, and he still does with playing alone. But he's come out of his shell, I would say, a lot more than what he had in the beginning. Um, and it's nice to see him like approach other children and want to do what they're doing, sit next to them, and like maybe sometimes initiate the conversation a little bit. So he's gotten better now. At home, he's the only child. um but I have a friend, and she has a daughter the same age as Caleb, so he will engage with her daughter, and she actually watches him over the summer, so he gets to go over to her house every day during the summer when he's not at school at the extended school year program. But at school, I get rewards sometimes that he initiated to help somebody sometimes. So we
Okay.
always and the fact that they give him an award for that, they're giving him like yay, praise for that. But he plays and sometimes he gets in trouble a little bit because he may not play right. But sometimes it's not
Okay,
so
so let me
that,
stop
that
you there. So how do you discipline him
he
when
gets
that happens?
they put him on a certain color and he knows when he comes home we match that color up with what you did on the back of that sheet I showed you. And he knows he doesn't get his iPad, can't
So
watch.
he's not going to get a reward.
You're right. He can't, and
Wow.
he knows.
That is
What
something.
color are you on? And he'll say red. And I'll say, what does that mean? And he said, I make a mistake. And you did not make good choices. And what does that mean? And he'll
Wow.
say, no iPad, no Nintendo, no YouTube. Correct. He said, no McDonald's, no McDonald's. So he
That
knows.
is phenomenal. That's phenomenal because I can see just in what she said, Dr. Burkett, how you were talking about you got to bring them along and raise them where they become independent by the age of 16. Now you're looking at independency in the bigger picture as opposed to when they were younger. You brought them along to get to the age 16 so
Right.
they can sprout. Okay, we are running out of time. I got so many more questions, but let me stay on track. What are the key elements related to treatment? You may have covered some of that, but if you want to kind of
The key elements for all of these autism treatments is repetition and
yes,
consistency over time to help increase new neural connections. Remember, we talked about neuroplasticity in the brain
yes, yes,
and new pathways to improve and to synchronize brain functioning. So, if you want your child's brain to learn to do what we're teaching and to do it autonomously without you having to prompt them and without you having to just watch their every move. You put the work in with your consistency and carrying the program out with integrity over time, the way it's written without deviating, the brain will create new pathways and you get to bag back further and further out of the child's life. You know, the Bible talks about, you know, a husband dealing with his wife according to knowledge. I think we need to deal with all of the gifts that God gives us according to knowledge, including
absolutely.
our children. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. Yes,
And so, in order to be able to deal with your child with knowledge, you got to study that child. And we keep saying over and over, don't compare kids because they are all different. We all have unique fingerprints. So the children on the spectrum are especially different from each other. And I think it's our responsibility to study them. And once we gain this knowledge and information, we use that to help that child become the best person they could possibly be in life because you don't know what God's intent and purpose is for them. We just don't want it to be on us that we didn't do all we could have. So I'm going to sound like a broken record because now that I know, I can't unknow what I've seen and what I've learned and what I've studied.
yes,
And
yes.
so it makes me responsible for sharing this with others that need the information, or I could be held liable. And I don't want to have to deal with an angry God. I want one to say, you did good, girl. You know, not that I allowed you, to learn and you didn't share. It wasn't yours to hold. And I said yes to him a long time ago, send me, I'll go. I didn't know it was going to mean going into this, but that's, it is what it is. But I've enjoyed it. I've learned a lot and I have to do the due diligence on it.
So when have you found medication necessary for Caleb, Crystal?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but it was because he has the ADHD too. So I remember when Dr. Burkett was with us when we walked into his classroom at kindergarten. He was just spinning around in his classroom. I was like, okay, but his
He was literally spinning.
Oh yeah, on his bottom. He was having a good old time. But that, and then to help him focus as he's gotten older, he needed a little bit more help with focus. So he's doing really good. We actually had an appointment Friday, so we go every 3 months just to kind of check up. But we've I've had to learn to embrace it because at first I wasn't willing to do it, but I've embraced it and it's been fine. We have had to try different things to find the right medication for Caleb. But the way I look at it like you have to find the right recipe that's good. And I wasn't fond of trying new things,
Yeah.
but I've learned to be open. I'm not an open person, but I've learned to become open because, and when I say I'm not open, like I'm not open to like new teachers, new schools every year. But what control do I have over that? He's
Yeah.
growing up, he has to move.
Yeah.
But I've learned to just become open and trust God and trust the process. And so with that, one thing may have not have worked, but that doesn't mean something won't work. So we found something that does work, and he's asking more questions, asking more questions appropriately and stuff. So I think we found the right recipe for Caleb, and it
Will,
worked.
will he be able to come off those meds as he gets older, or this is going to be lifetime? Do you know?
We're praying for him to be able to come off. But
Let me come in here on that. Let me chime in, and I want to speak to both that your last question and what Crystal was saying. When I had objections initially with what some prescribing physician had given Caleb, it was because it was not FDA approved for treatments with children with autism. And sometimes physicians will do off-label, what we call off-label prescribing.
Yeah.
And because I had an opportunity to observe Caleb and I saw his potential, I was like, that medicine is not targeting what he needs. And that was the kind of, and I think that may have kind of upset Crystal a little bit because she was like, oh, no, my baby on medicine. She probably didn't want it all then. But I have to be honest. I said, you know what I'm saying? After 27 years of seeing what works, who would that make me if I'm not honest with the parents? Like, that ain't what the baby needs. So at the end of the day, he got what he needed. Keep in mind, we said neurodiversity includes not only autism, but kids with ADHD as well. Well,
yes.
Caleb has a little sprinkle of that going on. Mm-hmm. And so Crystal had to get that under control. And that's where a lot of that spinning he was doing on the floor. Mm-hmm. It wasn't related to autism. It was more of the ADHD thing.
Yeah, I thought he was happy.
Yeah. And so that's why I don't like parents to even label kids at all, because I like, let's just talk about whatever the behavior or symptom is we need to correct. Forget the label. Let's just focus on what this kid is doing. Let's fix that.
Yeah, because sometimes you can get stuck in that label and give them the wrong thing or miss something.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
Absolutely.
So have you found, again, to the question to both of you, but Crystal answering first, have you found it difficult to decipher when it's autism versus the ADHD, or you don't even deal with it in that way?
I feel like I have grown to be accustomed to autism. It's the ADHD that the symptoms with the ADHD that I find a struggle sometimes. And it's mainly just the focus. Because, I mean, he's 9 and I want to say he started showing signs early on, but with the autism. But it wasn't something I learned to deal with it. It wasn't to me like, I mean, it was like any other parent would feel. It was kind of heartbreaking to hear that, but at the same time, after a little bit of tears and prayer, I mean, like I said before, you can't sit there forever. You got to get up and do the work. So then you have something else come along, and dealing with that, and teachers, you have to gauge that aspect of what he had going on, like the focus and the hyperactivity. And of course, no parent wants a teacher to tell you, oh, I think there's something else going on with him, and now you have doctors telling you another, like you said, another label. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So now it's just Caleb is, to me, he is just the best, and I just pretty much just focus on his capabilities, and his focus is like the biggest challenge for us, but he's on a roll, and we are learning to teach Caleb the way he learns.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes. Dr. Burkett.
Okay, so let me address the issue about can they ever come off.
Okay.
Generally speaking, when medications are prescribed initially, the goal should always be to do it in an integrative capacity. That means put them on medication for this particular symptom, but let's not do medication only. Let's do medication in addition to whatever other programming, like the communication is going on, the ABA is going on, and all this. So as the brain learns to respond to the new teaching, the medication is just there to help calm the behavior that's interfering with their ability to learn. Medication is not prescribed to fix or to heal or to uh, cause it to go away. It's not going to do that. It's only to help the child relax enough in the environment to learn.
Yes.
So as new learning occurs, the medication process should start to taper back. The attending prescribing physician will start making the doses less,
Okay.
and even a trial of it not being there at all to see if the behavior returns. And oftentimes what happens is, as the new learning occurred and the child learned to do a lot of things that they were not doing prior to the medication trial, you can end up with a child who doesn't need it anymore. When this is why I was saying, do the program the way they told you to do it, and you're going to see the results you want to see.
That's
And
awesome.
so I've seen numerous children not only be able to come off of it, or at least come to a very minimum dose to maintain the behavior.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so the goal is never to leave them on it forever, but
Yes.
to gain control enough
Which is for regular people. I mean, for all of us, who wants to stay on medication forever if you don't
forever.
need
And
to?
it's the developing brain. You don't want that. And I've seen a lot
Absolutely.
of kids who had ADHD outgrow it to the point where they may still have it, but they can control it themselves. In fact, I have two grandsons. When they were young, they had to have ADHD medication just to focus in school, and a granddaughter. And all three of them are off of it now.
So, which leads me to my next question, and I like this comment. Chatelle is saying, teaching the way they learn. That's what you said. She
Mm-hmm.
piggybacked, or Crystal, one of you guys said that.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful because,
Yeah.
again, this is for individual people, you all, not just autism. A lot of this information tonight, I'm really finding applicable to myself, taking care of my mom, and just me, even if I weren't taking care of my mom. So here's the question. We got 2 minutes. My father used to say, just give me 3 more minutes. So y'all give us 2.5, maybe 3. Okay, here we go. When can autism be outgrown? Because you said ADHD, your grandchildren don't need the medicine anymore.
They're
So
right.
is autism outgrown too?
No, we don't have any. We have zero evidence of autism being outgrown. I'm sorry. I wish I could give a different answer, and maybe in time to come, something can happen, some miracles or whatever. But you have to remember what the definition of autism is, and then it'll make you better understand why we've seen zero cure. There's no cure. Now,
Okay.
but children on autism spectrum disorder can learn to function in any environment and setting. They can learn to do a whole lot of things if we start early. But as far as outgrowing what the brain has initially there, is not going to happen. But you can get new pathways to help them learn how to do things that can make life better for them. I wish I had a picture, and maybe the next time we come back, I'm going to have a slide to show you what the brain of a child on the spectrum looks like when compared to another child. And
Yes.
then when you see how their pathways look like a spider web compared to a child that's not on the spectrum, and their connections are like one line from here to there, that you can clearly see the connections, versus a brain that has just 10 times as many, then you'll understand what I meant by we need to be gentle with them because they have a lot going on in here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so when we give them a lot going on the outside, it's too complicated. But we've not known any to outgrow it.
That
But
is.
we've known a ton to have success where they can be like Caleb, walk into a room and you don't even know that they're on the spectrum.
So
Because
Caleb, you expect Caleb to be able to be independent enough to live on his own.
Caleb will be able to do whatever he chooses to do in life he wants.
Wow.
Yeah, God has blessed that baby. He's blessed the hands and the work of Crystal and her husband. And I'm their biggest cheerleader. They bought in early. They followed all of the instructions of the professionals. They've given Caleb the life that only they could have given him. That's why God specifically put him in their hands. And Caleb can go on to do whatever in life he chooses. He could be like an attorney, or he could be whatever he want to be, an astronaut. Whatever he chooses to do with his life, he'll be able to do it.
So, do you have?
It's not now how well he'll do with a wife. I don't know, but so, and I say that
you never know. Something
you never know. He may find out
with those emotions.
Yeah, you never know.
Emotions and feelings.
Yeah,
my girlfriend.
Let me tell you why I say that, because
hold on before you say that. A little cute story. My girlfriend's grandson, he was about 4 years old, and he came home from preschool, and she said, "How was your day?" He says, I don't know, Granny. He said something was going on down here. Something was going on down here. So you just never know. Something might be going on down there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the problem, because most of them become hyper sexual.
Okay.
With time, that would never be an issue. Getting some grandbabies is never going to be the issue. The issue would be.
We have to talk about that. Okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
801.
Sometimes
you could say that.
Sometimes in relationships, the female gender may have an expectation from the husband to have that love and affectionate and the closeness and the intimacy and things that I've seen people on the spectrum may have to work really hard to give it to a partner.
Okay.
That's what I was referring to when I said I don't know how that part would work, because I haven't seen too many people on the spectrum that brag about their marriages. Okay. But it doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Have you seen married autistic couples?
What kind of couples?
Autistic. Are they autistic?
I know some couples where one is on the spectrum and the other is not. And
wait a minute, one is and one is not. Okay, we got to stop right here, you guys. We're gonna have to come back. Crystal, Dr. Burkett, you should not have done that to me. I do have to go. This is wonderful. Listen, here are the comments. That is outstanding. I believe that too. Thank you so much, Chantel, Janae, and Emma. All of you all are commenting. Lula says, blessed and enlightening session of Real Talk on Autism. Yes. And we're going to come back, not next week, you guys, but look out for the flyer. Dr. Burkett has opened up another can of worms. But Crystal, have you been leading Caleb into what he wants to do when he gets older, or has he told you?
Caleb said he wants to be a police officer.
Oh, God, here's another can of worms conversation. Are you kidding me? Out of all the things.
No.
His dad said no. Okay. All right, y'all. This is what you call leaving us at a cliffhanger. We're going to leave y'all at a cliffhanger tonight because I got to go. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Crystal. You have just got to come back, when we come back, if you don't mind, and I'll get with you and Dr. Burkett. Dr. Burkett, I love you and Crystal with my whole heart. Thank you so much for everybody. Just
love you more.
And listen, have a good night, everybody. Share this. Help somebody, pray for somebody, and most of all, share the love. God bless you all in Jesus' name.
Amen. Good night.